Welcome back to Tit-Ass City, the only city made entirely of titties. It's actually pretty disgusting. There's blood everywhere. Some people still find it sexy, but I don't really want to live near them. They should all be in like a leper colony. Oh, that's right. I completed the dome. We never went outside to see what it looks like. No. You don't. Never again. Look at that dome. Look how big that dome is. And that little pod is nestled perfectly into that space. Let me take a look at it. I want to see if there's enough space around and under it that I can turn it into a moon pool, because I want to eventually destroy the pod I have already built, because there's room for a bigger module here. I can in fact build a whole second dome here, which is probably what I'll do. Okay, I'd have to... Okay, no, I'd have to clear out some... Well, there's enough space under it. There's enough. It's just there's not as much space as there is under this one, but that's fine. I'm going to destroy this one and make another giant dome. And then eventually make a smaller module, maybe over here, that will have enough space for mining and smelting and all that good stuff. It's decided. Ha ha ha. Because you want as many big domes as you can get, right? Just for elbow space, for room to live. Lebensraum, you might say, but probably nobody would in this day and age. Fuck that. Fuck this. Will one of these bake 4 of those? I want to see. No, it won't. I think I'll need to put 2 of them in there. I think I might need 4. Yeah, probably. What is that even? Cooked mutton. What the fuck is mutton? Isn't that like a lamb shank? I have yet another bed. I don't know what to do with that. Probably I'll make another base. I guess I'd better just fucking get to clearing out this dome. I keep wanting to put it off, but there's no sense in that. Eventually I'm going to have to clear out that little module because it's still full of water. Fuck, this is going to be a big job. This is going to be like 6 or 7 episodes just clearing this out, I feel like. Maybe that's exaggeration, but not by much. So you remember when the big feminist outrage was booth babes at E3? Like just random hot girls they pay to cosplay as game characters and hang around the booth to attract lonely men. Honestly, at the time I agreed because that's kind of sad. Like they just look like Craigslist hookers who don't want to be there. The cosplay is never even good. Like if they paid actual cosplay community members to do it, that would be a different barrel of crackers. A cracker barrel, you might say, if you're a hillbilly. But they just look like strippers, basically, who are wearing like low budget Halloween costumes of the characters. But the thing is, if you ban booth babes, where does it stop? Are you also going to get rid of the flag girls at drag races? Are you also going to get rid of hot girls at casinos? Are we just desexualizing society entirely for the comfort of ugly women? I'm not uncomfortable with hot dudes being used to market shit. Like everywhere you go in the mall, at all those kiosks that sell like lotions and rubs and gross shit to women, there's some Guido looking dude with impeccable grooming and like a nice suit selling shit to dumpy middle-aged women, as if to say you could fuck me if you buy this. I have no problem with that. That's smart. I would be doing that myself if I had any sort of business selling weird goo to old ladies who want to rub that goo on themselves and think it'll magically make them skinnier despite their steady diet of chocolate and wine. I gotta leave a hole for myself to go through, giggity. Here we go. And I'll collect those torches when I destroy this. Look at how fucking tedious this is. Little by little, you have to just strip away the water. That's supposed to be what sponges are for, but I don't have any. I think I started out this map with a chest of goods, giggity, that was supposed to include a sponge, but I forgot to look for it. And now I'm regretting that. So it's kind of funny watching Vive fanboys get excited for Knuckles, because Knuckles is basically just touch controllers. I'm not usually this petty, but they were really condescending about when we got touch controllers. They're like, oh, congrats on catching up. We've had the Vive ones since launch. Well, the Vive ones sucked. Everybody agrees the Vive ones suck terribly. And now they're getting all excited because they're getting corrected controllers that don't suck. And it turns out Oculus was right to wait a little while in order to make sure the motion controllers were actually good. Look at those zombies staring in at me from outside. Like, what the fuck is he building? How are we going to kill him in there? You're not going to kill me. You're going to stay the fuck out there where you belong. I should invent some kind of hate term. Like a new slur just for drowned zombies. Like Weebelos. Wait, that's a type of Boy Scout. I can't use that. Garbunculus. No, that's Goofy. You fucking Garbunculos. Or whatever I said. Because I'm a white, cis, hetero male. All I do all day is think of new ways to be disrespectful to minorities. And all those poor, disenfranchised, undead youths want to do is eat my flesh. How dare I fucking reverse psychologically colonize them by not letting them bite me. Or whatever. I don't know what Marxists are saying these days. Something like that. Something about colonialism. It's always colonialism. Because no other people in the history of the earth ever had colonies. Only the people who were the best at it should suffer any of the blame. I worry about my kids being retarded critical theorists too, but then I think there's a lot of people these days turning against that. Some of them turn too far. Some of them go alt-right, which is basically just a polite term nobody should have to use for Nazis. They're literally just Nazis. We should just call them Nazis. So it's possible to overreact to stupid leftist shit. I mean, somebody has to push back against it or they rule the future, but at the same time, when you start running over people with your car, you should take a good long look at your life and ask if you're really the good guys. I don't think they even have that pretense. How can I reach that far? How long are my fucking arms? Am I Luffy? Am I fucking Captain Fantastic? Whatever. You fucker! You fucker! You... You grabulos, or garbunculus, or whatever the fuck I said. That's right, I said it. You can't fire me because I don't have a conventional job. Haha. So I fucking hate Reddit. I post on there all the time, but the thing is, it's any unpopular information gets censored there by downvotes. It's basically just a platform designed in such a way that they can censor stuff but not get blamed for it because it's regular people doing the censoring, not usually not anybody in a position of power. Like, anybody who's watched my stream knows I'm supportive of gay people. I'm supportive of gay marriage. Because anything that pisses off Christians is cool with me. But I mentioned that homosexuality was only depathologized and removed from the DSM-2 in 1973, and not for any scientific reasons. There was never any scientific finding that it was not a mental illness. Rather, it was depathologized due to social and political pressure. And that's basically what's happening with trans people. Then again, I guess I don't have so much of a problem with this stuff, because if you think about it, I think my main problem years ago with it was that if we eliminate the distinction between genders and if we eliminate gender dimorphism, people won't work for anything, because right now the main reason why people do work and get jobs and want money is to impress the opposite sex so they can have sex and have children. But with increasing automation, we're going to get to the point where that's not really necessary. Where do I put the block here? Work won't need to get done because robots will just do it. They don't need money. They don't desire anything. I think it goes up there. Let me look at how it is over here. There's two here in this corner. Yeah, it goes up here. How did I miss that before? I thought it was really thorough. Okay, this is almost another layer eliminated. See how fucking tedious this is? This is my life now. This is what I've chosen for myself. Anyways, the normal capitalistic drivers that make people want money and want things, which is mostly using human primal drives like sex and hunger and other things in order to incentivize labor in exchange for satisfying those urges, doesn't really need to be used anymore. If you can have robots do everything. What worries me now is people who think that the only response to automation is communism. I've talked about this in the past. It's not. But communists are gonna exploit that as hard as they possibly can. They're gonna try to imply that they're the only people who have a solution to automation, and a lot of people are gonna believe them, I think. And then a lot of people are gonna die as a result, as typically happens whenever communists get power anywhere. So I can lower the water up to this height, but then I have to block these entrances. I'm going to block this one right now. Hope I don't get confused and burrow through that. I may as well. I'm not going to be destroying these right away. Just to keep the zombies out. Look at how nice this is turning out. Look, think about how cool this is going to be to have this much living space. I think if I had more energy and time and money, I would be trying to do for underwater exploration and settlement what Elon Musk is doing for space. Because I have a lot of ideas on how to make it cheaper. I've talked about on this channel. But how does he have so much energy to fucking do all these different things? I barely have enough energy to earn what I need for rent and utilities and shit. Is he just on meth all the is he made out of meth? Is he meth in a human shape? He couldn't be because he'd be retarded by now and stealing people's bicycles. So how does he fucking have so much energy? How does anybody do that much with their life? I don't understand it. I want to. I want to do that myself, but it seems impossible. It's been really interesting watching left-leaning media outlets initially support him because of his electric car stuff and his solar power stuff, and then turn against him once he was successful enough because he's wealthy. It's like, can nobody just recognize a great man when they see one and get behind him and push? It's like the crab in a bucket problem, where if one of the crabs starts to climb out of the bucket, all the others start to pull him down. Can we just all push in the same direction for once? Can we recognize when somebody has the answers and just get behind them and support them? That's how fucking progress happens. You don't get to have any progress if every time somebody comes along that starts doing the right things, you tear him down. Or her. I don't care who it is. If they have the answers, then I want people to fucking get behind them. Not tear them apart. Just over whatever little thing. The thing is, he's got the same problem Trump has, where they're both... they both have a bad case of testosterone poisoning, which makes them want to respond to every little insult on Twitter. At some point, you've got to be mature about it and just ignore that shit. Like, Obama didn't respond to anybody on Twitter. He would, like, correct false shit, but he didn't take anything personally. He just brushed it off. That's a mature man. I'm also laughing at how these fucking Trump voters have shot themselves in the foot, because choosing Trump as the first white president after the first black president is going to create such a perfect contrast for their enemies to exploit and say, see, look, like, Trump makes Obama look so fucking good by comparison and increases the odds of success for other people of color to run for president in the future, because people are going to think of Obama and then they're going to think of Trump by contrast and think, all right, well, another Obama would be better than another Trump. And that's cool. That's the best possible scenario that they could have asked for. I'm doing two at once just because I want to fucking speed things up. And then I kind of hope we get a bad person color president who's shitty, just to illustrate. So we have one good one and one bad one to drive home the point that race is not the deciding factor in whether somebody is going to be an effective president. That hopefully we can start to actually evaluate people by their individual merits and look at their history as a senator, if they were a senator before. Although I kind of want to get away from career politicians, as do many people. But either way, Obama came at the perfect time, and Trump came at the perfect time in order to make a giant spectacle that proves to everybody that, you know, voting for somebody of your own race because you think it's going to make them a better president is retarded and guarantees nothing. Probably we're going to have a Muslim president at some point. And he's going to do the same thing Obama did, which is just try to keep things stable and not fuck anything up, just so that Muslims can get elected in the future. Which I guess is fine. I think probably they'll eventually chill out once they've carved out a niche and have gotten some of the concessions they want. It'll be like It'll be like how Jews were a sort of a foreign body in European countries, but since World War II, for obvious reasons, anti-Semitism is no longer tolerated, and they're just kind of a subculture that exists. It's not like Jews have replaced anybody. They're a tiny group of people that doesn't evangelize. I don't know if it'll turn out that way with Islam, though, because Islam is pretty expansionistic. It's politically focused, and it has always been about taking over and gaining control and gaining prestige. And this has happened plenty of times in history. In Indonesia, in Malaysia, basically wherever Islam wasn't, but then spread into. It eventually took control of the government, and that's bad for anybody that Islam says should not have rights. So I'm concerned about that. It's really weird seeing people who call themselves atheists, but who defend Islam and attack Christianity, because you're supposed to be against all religions, and all Abrahamic religions in particular. Where do you get off having a special standard for one of the religions in the Abrahamic family while attacking another one? Or I don't know. I mean, I've talked about this before. I think it's political. I think people sometimes adopt views just because they're contrary to other views, not because they understand them. If they think their enemy is white Christians, then they're like, well, I'm going to vote for any non-white person, and I'm going to be an atheist, or at least say that I am, just because it upsets them. That's kind of embarrassing. I mean, do atheists really want support from people who only became an atheist in order to spite somebody and don't really understand it? There's a lot of these people, these so-called nuns who have abandoned religion, still have some kind of belief in a higher power. They just don't belong to any organized religion. So a lot of the support they're getting is from people who don't really understand, who don't know their ass from the elbow. I don't know if I'd want that kind of support. Look at it. At first I regretted building so close to a seamount, but now I'm kind of glad I did. Because it makes for cool scenery. I just have to demolish the top of it so it doesn't stick out above the ocean surface. Because I don't want to be so close to land. Oh, I need a shovel. God damn it. How tall does it need to be to get underneath it? Probably not too tall. How much iron do I have left? Any? Do I really have no iron? I have no iron. God fucking damn it. I have a block of iron though, don't I? Yes, I do. I can break that down. I need to. An anvil can wait. That's a zombie sticking up. Really? Are you serious? Are you serious right now with this shit? At least I got a shell out of it. Eventually I'll have enough shells to build that thing I want to. Go. That here, this here. And this goes here. I have a lot of food sacked away, so it's really cool. I made a good decision to live down here. There's ample food and other supplies. Now there's actual stuff growing underwater. It's not like going to the moon. You can actually get food and shit here without having to grow it all in domes. Like, imagine how much easier it would be to colonize Mars if we could grow crops on the surface. Not like inside of domes or anything, but on the bare surface. If we could genetically engineer plants to grow under those conditions, it'd be a lot easier to feed astronauts. How can we call astronauts astronauts? Like the N-A-U-T suffix refers to like mariners. Space is not an ocean. We shouldn't be using nautical terms for spacefaring. I don't know what I call them instead. I guess space dudes. Outer space guys. I guess astronaut's fine. So yeah, regarding psychology, it's I guess I'm kind of fine with it that they declassified homosexuality as a mental illness, because there was never really any scientific basis to classify it as a pathology in the first place. Psychiatry is not a hard science. And what goes into the DSM and what gets removed is basically down to a vote. It's kind of weird, though. Should it really be that way? Should we decide what sanity is and what being crazy is by a vote? Doesn't that just mean that sanity is down to consensus? Whoa, whoa, what the fuck? Wow. What's down there? Oh, it's just a shitty little cave. Interesting. But not really. So there's going to be a new Terminator movie, which I have a lot of trepidation about. I think it's going to be directed by the same guy as District 9. Don't quote me on that. I vaguely remember that. No, wait. That's the guy doing the new RoboCop. Which they kind of need to, because they fucked up the remake so badly. I forget who's doing the new Terminator. I think James Cameron's doing it. I think he's back on board. I'm not sure though. What's up, turtle bro? Nope, not into the ocean for you. Back on land. Back on land. Back on land. You belong on land now. Nope. This way. This way. I have to kill one. I just want to see what loot I get. Trust me, I feel bad about it. Do I only get... What do I... Seagrass? What the fuck? I killed a turtle and all I got was seagrass? I feel horrible. What do I need seagrass for? Is that so I can plant it? Do I have to murder turtles in order to farm seagrass? Man, it's really handy having this island right here that's covered in sand and dirt, because I need those substances quite frequently. I'm gonna have some floating trees here. Hold on, that looks awful. Just awful. It kind of makes you wonder, though, what out of the stuff we currently consider to be insane is going to be depathologized in the future. Will there be any such thing as crazy, or will that be like a hate term? Probably it will be. Probably we'll get to the point where you can't consider anything to be insane. There won't be any mental illness, just like different perspectives, I guess. It's kind of a shame to chop these down, but I won't need these. Pretty soon I'm going to have my own tree dome. And this will give me lots of saplings anyways. I'm over time, but I'm going to continue just a little longer. Just to finish the layer of the dome I was doing. You ever feel guilty when you thrift? Like, I thrift a lot because they have old game consoles and shit, but that's not really intended for people who are not poor. You're kind of supposed to go in there if you don't have money for new stuff. I feel a little guilty. But then again, if you don't snap up that stuff, the people who work there do it anyway. And not everybody who works there is disabled. Look at all this ecological damage I'm doing. Fuck the environment. Come kick my ass, Captain Planet. Come over here and stop me, big boy. In your sexy little spandex tights. I'm completely flattening this fucking island. Jesus, look at this. Look at this shit. It's like I'm gonna build a Walmart here or something. I should. Somebody should build like a Walmart in Minecraft just for the spectacle of it. Give me more saplings, god damn it. I'm not gonna kill you. Oh, he came back looking for his wife. He's like, have you seen my wife? She was just here a minute ago. No, sir. I have no idea where your wife went, but you can have this seagrass if you want. Look at that. You can already get a sense of how that dome is going to look when it's fully emptied out. It's going to be so fucking cool. I don't really need a boat to get to this island either. I want to get at least one more layer done. There's not much work left to do. I know I'm way over time, but I don't give a shit. I don't want this to stretch into 1 billion episodes. I want this to be done in a reasonable time frame. And I don't want people who don't want to watch this to have to suffer through a billion fucking episodes of the same thing. There we go. Haha, fuck you, glass. So this is something I was talking about recently on Reddit, which is why I'm salty about it, because it got censored. Is how do we decide how to put this? There are a lot of subcultures in society who are emotionally invested in unscientific beliefs. And it hurts their feelings when people don't agree with those beliefs. I'm not just talking about like transsexual people who want everybody to have to call them the gender they identify as. I'm also talking about creationists and flat earthers and Scientologists. But currently, you have to humor every trans person. It's just a policy that if you don't do that, you lose your job because it's considered hateful. But how come you don't have to humor creationists or flat earthers? They're people too. They get their feelings hurt when people tell them that their beliefs aren't true. And they're very invested. They have coped with the death of loved ones in their lives by the assumption that their religious beliefs are true. So don't tell me that they don't get their feelings hurt when you tell them their beliefs are false. But for some reason, we have to humor some of these groups, but not others. It used to be that you had to humor religious people. It was a taboo to say anything disrespectful about religion or even to disagree with it. Oh, I'm going to drown. Here we go. That's not the case anymore, however. When you ask this question of people who consider themselves progressive, they don't have an answer for it. They just kind of shrivel up their nose and look condescendingly at you and get angry and insulting. I've noticed a lot of critical theorists do that. They've just been trained to act as if you're wrong. Like they can just bluff. They can just bluff like you should be ashamed for saying something so stupid without actually explaining why it's stupid. Like, God, I can't believe you're saying that in 2018. It's the current year. Is it faster if I'm up here? It is. Look at how fucking slow this is. God damn it. Because I can't stand on solid ground. Mining is always slower if you're not standing on solid ground. Trust me, I'm a mining expert. I play a miner in a video game. Maybe if I do it a different way. I have an idea. This is a crazy idea, but bear with me. Haha. Watch this, suckers. Ha 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 ha. This is way faster. Why didn't I do it from above before? This is still not as good as using leaf blocks, but it's much faster than how I was doing it. It's gonna be nice to have at least one dome completed. And if you're wondering how come I do this in steps in like individual rooms instead of building one giant underwater base all at once, it's because you need there to be a colony that exists that has working farms and smelting shit and mines to support your resource needs while you construct the rest of the colony. Otherwise, you're stuck working from land and you're stuck using those little one block air shelters to construct something much, much larger than this dome. Can you imagine how shitty that would be? Can you imagine how tedious? It's even tedious like this, but at least this way I have an already underwater living space where I can do all my business, where I can sleep and I can store my shit and I can smelt and I can eat. This way, if you build a colony module by module, then you have the entire working colony that you've built so far to support you while construction continues. I can't talk right now. Look at how many fucking shovels this is using. Holy dicks. Does that go there? No, it goes. That should be enough room. Almost done. This is gonna be like a 45-minute episode. Or longer. This is smart. How come I didn't do this before? I must not be an intelligent man, is the only conclusion I can think of. These are going to be fucking long episodes, because the next layer is going to be 3 units deep, so it's going to be even longer than this one. But at least I don't have to gather dirt. I can reuse the dirt I already have. If I have enough dirt to do one dome, then I have enough dirt to do all the other domes, basically. And this is basically, this colony is just going to be a bunch of interlinked domes of this exact size, because this is a good size. You don't want to build it anything larger than it needs to be, because then you exponentially increase your workload. You want it to be comfortably large so you don't feel cooped up, and large enough to do the business that you want to do in that dome, like livestock or farming or growing trees. And then you just want to copy and paste that over and over. It doesn't wind up as cool and artistic looking as some builds I've seen, but it's very practical. You only want to build smaller modules when they'll suffice for what you're going to be doing in there, or when there's not room on the seabed for a larger dome module. Because basically what we're building here is just substrate. We're just building generic living space underwater, which doesn't have to be anything fancier than a bunch of interconnected domes repeating over and over. I've seen cool builds where there's like these really elegant single huge structures that were very artistic, but like I said, that's not practical to build if you're doing it in survival. That's only practical and creative. In survival, you actually have to meet your needs to stay alive and generate all your own resources to construct the structure with from the sea. So it just winds up looking like a repeating grid of domes wherever I can fit domes. And where I can't fit domes, I have other stylish, good-looking modules that I use that are just my standard go-to modules because I've memorized how to build them. So all my colonies kind of look the same once I perfected my methods, because there was no reason to do anything differently. And it's just muscle memory. I've optimized the process of building the structures so much that I just do the same thing over and over now. And because I'm a fucking asparagus king. Spurger king. Have it your extremely specific way, mumble mumble. I'm gathering all these resources. Look at how much water we've cleared. Look at how cool look at how fucking cool the view is gonna be. This is a dope view. It's amazing. I've never had a view this good before. Number one, the terrain was usually more boring than this. Number two, the visibility was worse in prior versions of the game. You couldn't see as far underwater through glass. Number three, there wasn't any kind of underwater plant growth or sea life. I'm going to be able to see turtles. I'm going to be able to see kelp. I'm going to be able to see seamounts. And I'm going to be able to see the fucking ocean monument over there in the distance. This is going to be an awesome view. This is going to be beautiful. I picked a good place to construct this colony. I'm excited. Are you excited? If you're not excited, I want you to write 10 reasons why in the comments so I can berate you and perhaps whip your tender buttocks raw until you learn how to be excited. That took a really dark turn.